All right, so check this out. I'm in the capital of Montana right now. Helena. I don't know if it's Helena or Helena, but I'm in the capital of Montana right now, and I'm working.
They called it the Queen City of the Rockies, but what most people don't know is Helena was once the black capital of Montana. After the Civil War, black families moved west, looking for land and freedom, and for a while Helena offered both. By the 1890s, it had thriving black-owned barbershops, hotels, churches, and even Montana's first black newspaper, The Colored Citizen. But when gold ran out and jobs slowed, the welcome did too. White settlers took over city leadership, pushed black families out of prime land, and rewrote Helena's image. By 1930, most black-owned businesses were gone. And by the 1960s, the city that once had one of the largest black populations in the Northwest barely had a trace left. Today, you can still find the foundation of St. James A.M. Church, built by hand by freedmen. But most people in Helena have no idea who built it or why it mattered. If you believe a city can't celebrate its history while ignoring who built it, follow for more Erased Montana. Would you want your city remembered for what it built or who it erased?
Now, I just talked to one of my co-workers here who's from Montana. Now, I work in Dillon, Montana. My contract is in Dillon, Montana. But, you know, I pick up extra money in different cities. So I go to different facilities and I pick up extra money there. So right now I'm in Helena, Montana, the capital, right? So again, I just want to tell you, you know, me being out here in Montana is opening my eyes to a lot of things, right? So I'm gonna just say this again, right? We've been telling y'all that the Native Americans are not the people of this land, right? They are not the original people of this land, but they will have you believe that they are. I showed y'all when I was at another facility that when I got there to the facility, on the wall they had posted, caution, ICE may be present. Now, ICE is only here to deal with illegals and immigrants, and they're here for that. They're not here to deal with people actually from the land. They're not here to actually deal with that. They're here for illegals. Why are these people worried about illegals here? Why are these Native Americans worried about ICE? Now, today, I was talking to a coworker here, and I said to her, you know, hey, where can I get some food from? I mean, I'm in the capital of Montana right now. Where can I get some food from? You know, You know, it was a white girl that I was talking to. The white girl said, it was a white girl and a white dude. They said, you ain't gonna find none of that here. Like, and if you do, it's gonna be hard to find, right? I'm saying all of this because I'm going somewhere. I keep telling y'all that culture, when it comes to culture, food is a very big part of people's culture. Now, this was just said to me by this white girl. She said, we don't have like no soul food restaurants or really nowhere to even, I don't know why she said this, but get some chicken from. I was like, I don't even like chicken. I don't even eat chicken. Anyway, she said, mainly what we have come through here are Mexican trucks. There's a lot of food trucks that come through here. But she said, but they are mainly Mexican food trucks. Let that sink in just for a second. If we've been telling y'all that these Native American Indians are nothing but Mexicans, Asians, Siberians, all mixed in together. Look at the culture of food that's always around them. I've been telling y'all since I've been in Montana, I've seen nothing but tacos and burritos and stuff like that.
Mexicans and Native Americans, we are the same people. Why do you think so many Native Americans look like Mexicans and Mexicans look like Native Americans?
Now I want to show y'all something. Right now, I am in Bozeman, Montana.
They call Bozeman the last best place. But for a long time, that phrase came with fine print. In the early 1900s, Bozeman was booming, railroads, ranches, and the brand new Montana State College. Black workers came to teach, clean, and help build the city's foundations. But when it came time to settle down, the message was clear: not here. Real estate covenants kept Black and Native families from buying homes in most neighborhoods. Local businesses quietly refused service, and some property deeds still contained whites-only clauses well into the 1950s. Even as the university grew and the city modernized, Bozeman's population stayed nearly all white, not by chance, but by design. Today, Bozeman calls itself progressive and inclusive. But for many families, it's a reminder that progress means little if it never looks back. Because when a city builds its reputation on forgetting, the people it forgot never truly left. They were just written out. If you believe the future means nothing without truth, follow for more Erased Montana. Can a city ever be the last best place if it was never the first fair one?
I'm filming this video, right? But I'm in Bozeman, Montana. And I want to show y'all something, right? Remember we talked about the food trucks, right? Check this out. Now, I was just in Helena. I showed y'all a video of Missoula, right? Of food truck in Missoula, the tacos. Now, check this out. Now I'm in Bozeman, Montana. Mexican food truck. So I'm getting my car serviced over there at Walmart. So I gotta go get me something to eat. I'm walking down the street to go get me something to eat while I'm waiting on my car. Food truck, right? Hold on. Mexican. Tacos, I told y'all, these people are Mexicans. They're culture. Hold on, I'm not done. More food trucks. Let's see what this food truck is. El Ralo, food truck. This is what the white girl told me. It's a bunch of food trucks that come here, but, oh wait, and it gets, hold on, we not done. You ain't getting no soul food off these trucks. You ain't getting no Thanksgiving food off these trucks. You're gonna get tacos, burritos, enchiladas in Montana. Yeah, but this is gonna get even better as I keep making these videos, because we're gonna actually understand that our people was actually here in Montana.
They say the railroad built Montana, but they never tell you who built the railroad. In the early 1900s, Havre was a booming railroad town. Black porters, cooks, and laborers came from across the country to work for the Great Northern Railway, laying the tracks that connected Montana to the rest of America. They built neighborhoods, churches, and businesses right here in Havre, carving out community where few thought they could. But when the train slowed, history did too. Black workers were pushed out of unions, denied housing, and quietly erased from the city's public record. Old photographs of Havre's rail yards show hundreds of men, yet most captions just say workers. Their names never made it into the archives. Today, Havre still celebrates its railroad heritage, but the people who kept those trains running are barely mentioned. Their sweat built the tracks, their stories built the town, and their absence still echoes louder than any whistle. If you believe history should name the people who built it, follow for more Erased Montana. Why do you think the workers who built America are the ones least remembered?
Y'all stay tuned for that though. Stay tuned for that. Now you guys, I just showed y'all one little thing, right? All right, now, I just showed y'all one little food truck here in Bozeman, right? Now, I just walked about 100 yards, and probably not even 100 yards, down the street. Now, check this out. When we say these people came from somewhere into America, now we know Mexico is a part of America. But what we're saying is, how did these Mexicans become Indians? How did these Native Americans become Indians? That's all I'm saying. From Chinos to Indians. Yeah, go read that book.
All right, they grouped all these people together from all these islands, all these different tribes, all these nations I just showed you from Southeast Asia. I'm going to show you a lot more, guys. So again, we come back to the book, and it's telling us on arrival in Mexico, slave owners and Spanish officials grouped them together, all these different people, overlooked their social linguistic differences, and categorized them all as Chinos. In time, Chinos came to be treated under the law as Indians. All right, listen, the term for all native people of Spain's colonies. That's what they were calling even the indigenous people of Southeast Asia. They were just calling them Indians too. And then the indigenous people of America, they were calling them Indians too. Started grouping all these people together and became indigenous vassals of the Spanish crown after 1672. All right, I'm about 1600s. The implications of this legal change were enormous. As Indians rather than Chinos, they could no longer be held as slaves. This book tracks Chinos' complex journey from the slave market in Manila, Manila, slave market in Manila, Philippines, Manila, not West Africa, Manila, to the streets of Mexico City.
Maria, however, had to undergo forced conversion, and she also relocated to Mexico, which transformed her into a China slave. In this different colonial context, the son of a China slave could indeed take on the identity of an Indian. Let me read that again. Maria, however, had to undergo forced conversion, and she also relocated to Mexico, which transformed her into a China slave. In this different colonial context, the son of a China slave could indeed take on the identity of an Indian. Once in Seville, Bartholomew knew to claim he was an indigenous person because that is exactly what other Chino slaves did in Mexico. They became Indians.
Okay, this is a PDF called Plain Indian. Watch this. A 1912 photograph in the New York Herald features 5 indigenous peoples in varying states of Indian dress, meaning they was all dressed in Indian regalia. It says including feathers, headdresses, and beaded necklaces. Among the portrait of these Indians in New York is Stephen Glory, a Filipino. You see, he's a Filipino. He's not even an indigenous person. He's not even Indian. But watch this. It says, like his Native American counterparts, Glory is dressed in a Plains-style headdress that was popular in portraits and touring Indian shows at that time. Simultaneously labeled as one of the Indians in the image and as a Filipino. Glory's presence in the photograph recalls the shifting and slippery racial categories for Filipinos in the aftermath of the Spanish-American and Philippine-American wars. You see that? It says the racial categories, meaning they started changing Filipinos' race to Native Americans. This lines up with Asian slaves in Mexico. Watch this. It says, by the time the image was taken in 1912, Glory, a former student of the Carlisle Indian Industrial School, had joined a traveling Indian show in New York and changed his identity from Stephen Glory, a Filipino, to Stephen Redleaf, a
Buffalo Bill and Pawnee Bill,
meaning a Pueblo Indian. He changed his race from a Filipino to a Pueblo Indian. he is now considered an Indian. So what are they telling you? That some of these people that they were calling Native Americans were in fact Filipinos. They were not actually indigenous people, but yet they still call these people Native Americans. These Filipinos were just incorporated into Indian society, and they started calling them Indians, even though they wasn't. But watch this. Let's go to the book Asian Slaves in Mexico, and let's read the introduction. Now, this is the introduction in the book Asian Slaves in Mexico. Watch this. It says, during the late 16th and 17th centuries, countless slaves from culturally diverse communities in the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia journeyed to Mexico on the ships of the Manila galleon. Upon arrival in Mexico, they were grouped together and categorized as Chinos.
Chinos.
So all of these Filipinos and anybody that was of Asian descent was all grouped together and categorized as Chinos.
That's Chinese and Filipino together.
Their experience illustrates the interconnectedness of Spain's colonies and the reach of the crown, which brought people together from Africa, the Americas, Asia, and Europe in a historically unprecedented way. In time, Chinos in Mexico came to be treated under the law as Indians, becoming indigenous vassals of the Spanish crown after 1672. Becoming. That's the same thing we just read in the PDF. That's the same exact thing we just read. They became indigenous. It says the implications of this legal change were enormous. As Indians, rather than Chinos, they could no longer be held as slaves. Tatiana tracks Chinos' complex journey from the slave market in Manila to the streets of Mexico City, and from bondage to liberty. In doing so, she challenges commonly held assumptions about the uniformity of the slave experience in the Americas. You see that? They took these Filipinos and changed their race to Native American, indigenous. These people started taking on these titles. Bottom line.
Let me give you another example. Quote, Chinos, like Francisco, followed in the path of free natives of the Philippines who immigrated to Mexico. The Filipinos, confusingly called Chinos as well, laid the groundwork for Chino slaves who, like themselves, became indigenous vassals of the Spanish crown after Chino slavery was abolished in 1672. Over time, all of their diverse ethnic identities were folded together into one Indian identity. Filipinos thus became part of an increasingly multi-ethnic population and took part in redefining Indian identity in Mexico. End quote. But this did not work. Redefining yourself did not work for all Chinos, especially the ones who were probably the indigenous people of that particular land, but the ones who looked more so like the Negritos, they were not able to reclassify themselves as Indians, okay? So while the Chinos who kind of had that particular, who were lighter skinned, they were able to transform themselves into being indigenous and be accepted as Indians. But the darker skinned ones were not allotted that privilege. All right, let me go to the quote. All right. Quote, as the 17th century wore on, inquisitors increasingly looked to skin color to make the distinction between who was a slave versus who was an Indian. The logic was as follows. An Indian was someone who, quote unquote, looked like an Indian. Chinos looked like Indians, so they were Indians, not slaves. Slaves were people with African features. For instance, in 1665, an elder turned in a runaway Chino slave who had blasphemed. Some testified he was a mulatto slave, and others called him Negro. The wording of these testimonies suggests that in 1665 the word black was being used for slave. The accused did not have to testify or even identify who he was. The judge simply accepted the categorization of the Spanish witnesses and treated him as a slave. The unnamed Chino looked like a slave, so he was under the court's jurisdiction. Individuals who had African features or whom witnesses described as castas, meaning people of mixed heritage, were not identified as Chinos or Indians. Individuals who did not resemble Indians, in other words, remained under the court's purview. So this means that if you had some African features, they'll just throw you in a bunch and call you an African, or they'll just call you black or a Negro and you'll just be a slave. Okay, so that's how it worked. It was pretty much a caste system.
Why do Mexicans look Native American? Well, that's because the average Mexican is overwhelmingly Native American ancestry. There have been numerous studies in Mexico supporting the fact that the average Mexican is roughly around 65 to 90% Native American.
You guys, this is just me walking from the Taco John's down there. Let me see if I can see the Taco John's. Let me see if I can. So the Taco John's that I just showed y'all, I can't see the sign, but basically the Taco John's is right down there, right? Taco John's is right there. And this is just me coming to the end of the street. The end of the street is right here. Walmart, where my car is at, is down at that end of the street down there. Walmart is down there. I'm at the end of the street here, okay? Now, Taco John's, I just passed Taco John's. I just showed y'all Taco John's. And guess what we run into? Another food truck. So I'm starting to feel like this white girl is telling me the truth, right? Now, this is Tabay's Mindful Kitchen. Shout out to Tabay's Mindful Kitchen. Look what these people look like. Asians, Mexicans, huh? And what is gonna be on this truck? You guessed it. Tacos, more tacos, more tacos, more tacos. And some hot dogs and some hamburgers. Okay? Shout out to all these food trucks keeping the people fed. Shout out to this. Let's look at these features. Is it starting to make sense now when I talk about culture and how people take their culture with them anywhere they go? Africans don't eat soul food.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ.
You see the difference in that food? That's not tacos. That's not burritos. That's not fajitas. That's not enchiladas. That's not soup. That's called soul food, what that African is eating right there. Native Americans, that's not your staple. He's gonna eat some cornbread too, AKA Indian bread, not fried bread. He's not gonna be eating fried bread, but he's gonna eat some cornbread.
This specific dish that at every family event, I know if you in our community, you've had it, and it's cornbread.
One thing I would tell you, as we were creating this docuseries, one thing I would tell you that led us to a lot of information concerning the American Indian was cornbread. Cornbread led us to some major information that many of us, I'm sure, didn't know. It was amazing putting this docuseries together, man. And as we're digging deeper into cornbread, what it is, how it's made, who was eating it, man, it took us to so much more information about our people. I mean, even to the point of we went to go dig into the first Thanksgiving. Yeah, the first Thanksgiving. They were definitely eating cornbread with those Indians. Huh. Cornbread is a quick bread made with cornmeal, associated with the cuisine of the southern United States, with origins in Native American cuisine. First Thanksgiving. With that being said, let me ask you a question. You ever heard the story about an Indian named Squanto? No? But what about the Johnny Cake Papers? You ever heard about the Johnny Cake Papers? No? Well, before we move on, I think it might be time for us to have a quick little story time. The Johnny Cake Traditions by W.L. Watson. The Pilgrims landed at Plymouth in bleak November 1620, and we all know of the privations of that first terrible winter. The wheat they had brought from England had all spoiled during their long voyage. One thing that saved many lives was the discovery by Miles Standish of a cache where the Indians had stored some of their harvest of corn. This grain was unknown to them. Cornmeal, cooked in various forms, became their main item of food. But our ancestors, while they could not improve the corn itself, did improve upon the methods of grinding the corn. And soon, windmills and later water power mills were erected for the sole purpose of grinding corn. The result was a great improvement, and cornmeal soon became a principal article of food. Not only did they improve the grinding of the meal, but they invented many new dishes, and in old letters and diaries, we find references to stirabouts, Indian pudding, Indian dumplings, toads, and many other almost forgotten dishes. But with all their inventive genius, they never invented a dish that could equal that which the Indians taught them to make. Although they did improve and refine it, namely the Rhode Island Johnny Cake. Millers have always taken a great pride in the product of their meal, each thinking that his meal was the best. This rivalry was also shared by those having corn to grind, and they might travel many miles to go to a certain meal when there was one a stone's throw from their home. This rivalry amongst millers have come down through the ages to the present, a delicacy of the Indian. Cornbread, aka Indian bread.
We literally are the red copy Indians. You want to know how? Cornbread. Literally cornbread. Here, Indian bread. A Native American cuisine. You want to know in every African American, so-called African American household, is cornbread.
Cornbread is historic in the black community, particularly amongst us Southern blacks. You can call yourself cooking a good-ass meal. I'm talking about you can cook up some black-eyed peas, some collard greens, some fried pork chop, some corn on the cob. But if you ain't got some damn cornbread, that meal is incomplete.
Alright, so in this video, 2-second style, I'm just going to show our cultural connections, showing how us melanated Americans are the true indigenous peoples of this land, and our culture continues to this day, right? So behind me, you see cornbread. Now you just type it in Google, what comes up? Soul food. And you know soul food is our dishes of what they call our dishes today as melanated Americans, right? Because we are the soul people, soul music, soul brother, soul sister, right? But now today you got a lot of other people who just appropriated it and took it into their and call it Southern cuisine instead of the actual peoples who it belonged to. And behind me, you see here that cornbread is an indigenous dish of the Americas, right? We're still doing this today, but we don't know that we're doing it, right? No other people do this. Not these natives. They got some shit called fry bread, which the ingredients was given to them by the people who put them on reservations, and that's their most famous ancient dish. Fuck out of here. But you see that it's from North America, the Northeast and Southeast cultures. And who is that? But not only that, you got this brother right here in Philly. He is called Cornbread, the godfather of graffiti. Another cultural tradition or aspect that we created, right? That other people try to say they created. They say tagging is the first element of hip hop, and he was doing it in 1965, and I think a little bit before that too. Here it shows how Cornbread started tagging. He became fascinated with tagging and began to write his new nickname, Cornbread, on everything. Bus stops, street signs, park benches, and even on the side of an elephant at the Philadelphia Zoo. Legend has it he once tagged a private jet of Jackson 5 when they arrived in Philadelphia. Tagging is the writing of a nickname or mark on a surface by a graffiti artist. Cornbread is now recognized as the first tagger consistently to write his name in public spaces. This was even before the explosion of hip-hop in New York City. Some even say Cornbread's tagging was picked up by people in NYC, leading to the beginnings of graffiti. So everybody give a shout out to Cornbread.
Let's try the cornbread. Yeah, I'm on the street. Look at. I'm in Heights V. Cornbread.
Cornbread, aka Indian bread. What they were eating with the pilgrims. What he's eating right now is what they were eating, what the Indians were eating with the pilgrims, the copper-colored race of people found here by the Europeans.
Oh wow! Now I see the hype. Now I see the hype. Now I see the hype. Okay. Oh my God.
Native Americans don't eat soul food. The Indians were eating soul food with the pilgrims. The Indians were eating soul food with the pilgrims.
Boy, I'm gonna call my mama and cuss her ass out, boy. So then what seasoning tastes like? God damn! I'm black. Oh my God. I'm fucking black. He fucking that shit up. Oh God.
Okay, we dead on.
Like never go back.
We dead on now.
Bro, why the fuck is everything so fucking short? Why the fuck is everything better than the next, bro? That's absolutely.
Yo, he just tried to pretend. Yo, he just tried to potato salad.
Get me out of here.
Was the food good? Yes. Look, this approved. This 2 plates. This the dessert plate, and then that's the regular plate. Are you good?
Cornbread is called Indian bread.
I have made cornbread using grits because I saw this video and wanted to try it.
War. We couldn't get cornbread. We couldn't get cornmeal. It used grits. And the same way you make cornbread, you can make grits bread.
When our elders speak, we should listen.
Native Americans eat fry bread. Two different things.
Trying Native American food for the first time? Tokabe is part of the Osage Nation. All of their ingredients are native and indigenous sourced, and they've got everything from like shredded bison to fry bread. I started out with this giant Indian taco, as they call it, which is a huge fluffy piece of fry bread topped with this juicy tender bison that they braise for 13 hours. It's not gamey at all. It's just like really savory tender meat. And I got the stuffed fry bread with ground bison instead, and they choose all of their spices really carefully to balance out those natural flavors and not overpower anything, so it just tastes super fresh and kind of wholesome. And for dessert, you dip your fry bread in wajabi, which is this like thick sweet berry sauce. It's got a little maple leaf flavor. It's really bright, really tangy. But my favorite dessert were the fry bread nuggets, smothered in sugar, fried to perfection, and you dip them in this like really aromatic honey. Oh, we also tried their nachos with grilled chicken marinated in annatto seeds, which have this kind of like nutty, peppery flavor. And the chicken had this perfect char too. I think it was my favorite meat. They also used this ancho chipotle sauce that had this really like smoky creaminess, and it all just tasted so fresh. I would 100% recommend Tokabe.
Two different things. We eat cornbread. They eat fry bread. Two different things. Cornbread. We eat cornbread. Indian bread. The Indians were eating cornbread with the Pilgrims. Swanto taught the white man how to cook cornbread. The Pilgrims landed at Plymouth in bleak November 1620, and we all know of the privations of that first terrible winter. The wheat they had brought from England had all spoiled during their long voyage. One thing that saved many lives was the discovery by Miles Standish of a cache where the Indians had stored some of their harvest of corn. This grain was unknown to them, but Squanto, a Patuxent Indian who was friendly toward them, taught them how to pound the corn into a meal with a crude mortar and pestle, and then how to mix it with water into a stiff dough, which was spread on a small flat surface and stood before an open fire and cooked into a sort of cake. And here we have the real original Johnny Cake. Squanto, the Indian, taught the white man how to make cornbread. The Indians were eating soul food with the Pilgrims. Where's the soul food at? If you're the people of the land, where is your soul food? Where is your food at? It's a lot of tacos, enchiladas, Mexican food. So these white folks are mingling in with these Mexicans, these Siberians, these Asians. They're mixing in with them. And they're telling you you're from Africa. Come on, man, it's 2026, man. And you wonder why you don't get no respect on your land, because you don't know who you are. And this is why they laugh at us. Hey, wait a second, I'm not done. So I just came from that end of the street, right? I just turned to the corner because I'm going to that Wendy's right there. I walked from Walmart to the Wendy's to waste some time for my car to get done, right? Now, I just came from that food truck, Chef Tabay's down there, right? Came from that food truck, and I just walked around the corner. Another food truck. I think that lady was telling me the truth. She said they have a bunch of food trucks that come in. Let's see what's on. Let's look and see what's on this thing. Tacos, quesadillas, fajitas, ceviche. I don't know how to say this stuff. Hamburger, they're gonna throw some hamburgers on there. And then they give you a visual of what's on their truck. Uh-huh. Yeah, another Mexican food truck. No soul food. Huh? Just think Thanksgiving. Just think Christmas. Just think the food that we eat on the land. Here's another food truck. What's this one got? Hot dogs and more. Sonoro style. Huh? They're Indians, yo. They're Indians, though. Huh? And them Indians gonna serve you some tacos and hot dogs. Huh? Come on, man. Now check this out. I just reached Livingston, Montana. And look at this at the gas station. More tacos. More fajitas. Huh? More food trucks. More Mexican food trucks. And this is Livingston, Montana. Soups. Rice. Since I've been in Montana. This is my second time here in Montana. First time I was on the Indian reservation in Browning, Montana. This time I'm in Dillon, Montana. But I'm also in Helena, Montana, and Livingston, Montana. I've been to Bozeman, Montana. I've been, last week, I went to Missoula, Montana.
They call Missoula the liberal heart of Montana. But every heart has a history, and this one left some people out. In the early 1900s, Missoula had a small but strong black community. Families worked on the railroads, ran boarding houses, and even helped build the University of Montana. But as the city grew, its neighborhoods quietly divided. Real estate covenants barred black families from buying homes in certain areas. Banks denied loans, and landlords used no vacancy signs that somehow always had room for everyone else. By the 1950s, Missoula's few remaining black residents were pushed toward the rail yards, the same places their grandparents once worked. And when redlining maps appeared in the 1960s, Missoula was right there with them, color-coding which parts of town deserved investment and which didn't. Today, Missoula calls itself inclusive, but history has a way of echoing, especially when the city that preaches progress still struggles to face its past. If you believe progress means more than just saying the right words, follow for more Erased Montana. Can a city truly be progressive if it never owns the harm hidden beneath its image?
It's all the same. Mexican this, tacos this, burritos that.
One taco review every day until I do taco reviews in all 50 states. So I've been on a mission trying to find good tacos in Montana, doggy. And I came across this food truck, probably the only taco truck in Missoula. Open from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Only 3 hours. Garden City Taqueria in Missoula, Montana.
Rice this, rice that. And then, when you go to places like Missoula, Bozeman, you'll find like our regular restaurants that we have, in our bigger cities, I say all that to say this. We've been telling y'all that these people are Mexicans. They're Mexicans, they're Asians, they're Siberians, and they came here to America, but they're taking your identity as the American Indians of this land. They're taking your identity.
Same motherfucking Mexicans that's stealing your ancestry. They running around here Hispanic the fuck out, talking about they was the Mayans in the old Mex.
If you look at some of the reservations that you've approved, you, sir, in your great wisdom have approved, I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like the Indians. Now, maybe we say politically correct or not politically correct. They don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians, and a lot of people are laughing at it, and you're telling how tough it is, how rough it is to get approved. When you go up to Connecticut, and you look, now, they don't look like Indians to me, sir.
Let me show you something. I saw at work yesterday. Watch this. Hey, check this out. Look. So I'm here in Montana. I'm out here in Montana working, right? So I'm working. Now, we all know in Montana there are a lot of Native American, not American Indians, but Native Americans here in Montana, right? So I want to show y'all something. If they are the indigenous people of the land, let me show y'all a sign. If they are the indigenous people of the land, why would they be worried about ICE being here?
GOV is trying to say that birthright citizenships of Native Americans isn't a real thing. That we were not here, and so it's not all right just to be a citizen of America because, pause, now I'm hearing because we actually came from Siberia and we weren't always here.
ICE is only here for illegals, not indigenous people to the land. Once again, here we go. The lies are being uncovered. They know the truth, and we know the truth. Now, this white girl just told me we have a lot of food trucks that come through here, but they're mainly Mexican food. You know people by their culture. Food is a very big part of their culture, of a people's culture. And this is what I've been trying to tell y'all when it comes to these Native American so-called Indians. They're taking your identity on this land. And it just be the little things you have to pay attention to. It's 2026. And you're still running around here talking about you come from the jungles of Africa. Bless your heart.
What do you have to do to corn before you take it to the mill?
Well, you first have to shuck it. Next, you have to shell it like that. And then, in other words, when you're done shell it, then you put they have a sift at the mill. If you want to sift it, you put it in there and an electric sifter will clean it for you. And then you put it in the hopper in the ground to get meal, all grits. And they got one mill there, which is a grits mill. It gives you coarse grits, fine grits, the bran, and some meal. They go 4 ways, depending on how you feel about it. So this is the way we have the corn. We usually have a sheller, but we can use it with our hand or either a washboard. And it's not hard to shell if it's real dry. This is the way we do it. Come on out here, let me show you where this corn comes from. Would you care to see? Sure. Take off the corn, you can shell it like that, make meal. And this is the meal part of it. It's very good to have. Grits oatmeal, come from the mill, water ground mill. I've known it's been there for, I was 8 years old. I'm 61 now. Still eating cornbread and grits. Very good to have. You care for a quarter meal?
Who taught your grandma and your granddaddy how to make grits? Do you know that grits is an indigenous American food? As I told y'all before, there's many ways to get home, and the food will take you there every time to prove who he is. So let's get on that road. Grits originated with Native American tribes in the Southeast, specifically the Creek, Cherokee, and Choctaw, who began grinding corn into a coarse porridge in the 16th century. Known for using nixtamalization to create hominy, these tribes introduced settlers to ground corn, becoming a foundational staple for both. So again, grits is an indigenous American food of the Southeast. And when you look at the Southeast United States and the people who descend from the Southeast, meaning again, if you in Michigan, Ohio, New York, California, Arizona, and you are a so-called Black American, and you know grits is a staple in our community. So no matter where you at, our community of people who descend from the Southeast is still eating grits. The question is, who taught your grandmas and your grandpas how to make grits? And the second bigger question is, if the so-called Native Americans, the people they call Native American today, are the real indigenous Americans, remember, Native and indigenous are two different things. Why aren't they eating grits widespread like our people? Why would our people be the ones eating grits? And again, these same grandmas and grandpas and their parents and their parents and their parents said they were Creek, Cherokee, and Choctaws. They said, hey, I'm not an African American. My mama and daddy were Indians. And the Indians were the ones eating grits. You can't make this shit up, people. So again, who taught your grandma and granddaddy how to make grits, an indigenous American food? And why does so-called Black America eat this food in whole? We eat it in mass. Like, y'all can comment right now while we on the video. How do you eat your grits? Do you eat your grits with sugar and butter, salt and pepper and butter? How do you eat them? My grandma as a kid, we always ate them with salt and pepper and butter. But as I got older, I started putting sugar in my grits. And sometimes I put sugar, salt, pepper, and butter. And our people can have this debate all day. And actually, Michelle Williams of Destiny Child and Tamar was having this debate on Instagram recently. I just scrolled past and I thought it'd be interesting to talk about because I was gonna make this video anyways. And this just shows you how much of a staple grits is in our community. Tamar, this funny as fuck though. Tamar funny as hell. She gonna say, why not just order cream of wheat? But some people feel like that, but hey, you put some sugar and butter in there and a little salt and pepper, your shit gonna be on point. I don't want none of the cheese. Leave the cheese alone. I think that's too much. But some people love cheese in there. But just going back to the whole point of this, grits is a indigenous American food of the Southeast, and as I told you that the so-called Black Americans are the Americans Indians reclassified to Negroes, Blacks, Coloreds, Freemans, many reclassifications. How can one ethnic group be reclassified many times? Again, it goes back to this. We are the indigenous people of America coming from the Mississippian Empire, Mississippian tribes that stretched all over this land from the Mississippi River and its tributaries. That's who we are, and the food proves this. The food will get you home every time.
Hey, Chase, you make some grits? Yes, sir. About to throw some sugar in there right now. Give me your card. No. Give me your black card. No, sugar goes on grits. You better ask somebody. Yo, man, we gotta take it.
I mean, some people put sugar in their grits.
Yeah, light-skinned ones.
What? Not me. I like black pepper and salt.
But is it a revocable offense? Ugh. I'm gonna let you keep it this time.
Don't do nothing stupid.
Man, let's use brown sugar. That don't matter.
No, you need salt, pepper, butter. That's what you need.
Y'all want a bowl?
No. Absolutely not.
Now, we know Mexico is a part of America, but what we're saying is, how did these Mexicans become Indians? Now, we know Mexico is a part of America, but what we're saying is, how did these Mexicans become Indians?